What's going on YouTube? So when the all-new Traverse first launched last year, it was missing one thing for the people that like the finer things in life, the high country trim.
But not even a year later, it's back for 2025, and we just lived with this highest end Traverse this week.
So is the highest trim of the Traverse the one to buy? Well, let's go ahead and find out. Now, like always, let's get things started under the hood with a quick spec dump. So the high country version of the Traverse gets the same engine as all the other models. It's a 2.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, making 328 horsepower. That's paired to an 8-speed automatic transmission, and our all-wheel drive example is rated at 21 mpg combined.
Now, the base price for the Traverse is $40,000 this year, and if you're looking to buy one or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes to get the best price. Now, this is also a 7-day review, so we do some special elements. First of all, we're going to be getting our official Kentucky sound level reading for this high country trim level. We'll also be giving you our real world fuel economy after living with it, as well as at the end discussing if we like it better, the same, or worse after living with it.
But we'll go ahead and close up the hood because High Country, of course, is going to be adding some additional things in terms of luxury to the exterior and the interior. Now, right from the start here, I do have to break something to you, which is a little bit interesting, and that's actually the fact that the High Country trim level is not the most expensive trim level in the Traverse lineup. It does fit just a little bit below the RS in terms of pricing, although they're kind of presented as equivalent options that you can choose between based on those few different features that distinguish between them. And we'll get into all those details about this trim level as we go throughout. Now, of course, up in the front versus the RS, you're going to see a little bit more in terms of your shiny bits. This grille is pretty much the same as what you have on the LT trim level. So you've got the silver all across here with the bars going on, still having the gloss black at the bottom part for a more aggressive look. The headlights are premium full LEDs. They're projector units, of course. We've got the updated, or the up level, I should say, version, which has the dynamic turn signal and daytime running light up here at the top. Now, as we move around to the back, I think you'll be surprised that it does have a little bit more of a sporty appearance than you might expect, with a lot of piano black.
Yeah, it's going to have a lot of the same design elements as that RS, even though this is the high country model. As far as some design elements, we have a spoiler, a wiper, and then all this is like what Drew said. It's going to be finished in a gloss black. We do have some high country specific branding. And as far as our taillights are concerned, we do have a full LED unit. So that's certainly very nice. That's actually going to be standard equipment. So that includes your turn signal, your brake light, as well as all your accenting, and then your reverse light is integrated down here. Now, speaking of down here, this is also going to be finished in a piano black. I do really like the way it looks. However, I wish for high country they might have done some body color elements to give you that more premium look. And then as far as our exhaust pipes, those are going to be a quad setup, and you have a 5,000 pound tow rating.
Now, moving on to our wheels. This comes with a 22-inch alloy. That's very large for this segment of SUV. And in terms of the overall design, it is the same as the RS trim, except for the fact that we've got contrast added, where that model is going to be a full gloss black finish. Now, as I move up here to our mirrors, this are also going to be finished in a gloss black. I kind of expected this to be a chrome finish, but in terms of the features, it's got all of them. So you have auto dimming on the driver's side and power folding, in addition to the already standard heating and blind spot monitoring.
Now, for those of you that haven't seen previous Traverse content, you may not know that this is a gigantic option for the segment, 204.5 inches. And that, of course, is going to mean you have a lot of practicality. We'll get into that in the second row and cargo space a little later on. Now, as far as some design elements for the high country, we have the raised roof rails finished in chrome. We also have chrome window surrounds as well as chrome door handles. And then as far as your safety systems are concerned, every Traverse gets every active safety feature as standard equipment. Additionally, if you choose this high country model, you're going to get Super Cruise as standard equipment as well, which is a hands-free highway and secondary road assistant. It's really a good system, especially for a family vehicle like this. But without further ado, we need to go ahead and check out the interior of the high country. But first, if you're new here, we're brothers and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We started young, and since then we've reviewed over 2,000 cars at every price point.
And if you want to know about all the latest and greatest rides, then make sure to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family.
Let's learn a lot and have some fun with all the newest cars. Now let's move on to the interior. Of course, we've got standard smart entry system, remote start right there on the key fob, just a typical Chevy key fob. And then to get inside the vehicle itself, no sensor behind the door handle, so just press that silver button there, that will unlock the door. All right, and let's check out the interior. So right from the start here, you might notice something maybe a little odd about this High Country, and that's the fact that in most of the Chevy models, they have had standard or at least offered kind of a tan interior or a brown interior color option, and that's actually not the case for this High Country version of the Traverse. It does give you one exclusive color option, though. You can get a cool gray color option, or you can go for the dark finish that we have on board with this model. Now, as you can see, though, we do have a brown piping element as kind of an accent to make the overall seat look a little bit richer, and the perforation is going to be the same as in the RS. No High Country branding in the headrest either, which is kind of typical for that type of vehicle. Down below, of course, you have 12 ways of power adjustment with your 4-way lumbar support. You've got memory seats as well, located right over there on the door trim. And let's go ahead and climb inside. Now that I've fully climbed inside, let's take a look around at the rest of the cabin and the overall materials to see if they've elevated the High Country. Over here on our door trim, we've got the leatherette with the stitching detail. It is going to be soft touch plastic along the top. As we move over here to the top part of the dashboard, this is all a soft touch plastic with a stitching detail. And then through this shelf, as well as over on the door trim, you'll notice that we have a different kind of trim versus the RS that we showed off on the channel previously. It's pretty much still a faux carbon fiber, as you can see, but it's got a different tint to it. So basically it's kind of got that bronzy type of tint, kind of helping it tie in a little bit to the High Country lineup, although obviously I would have preferred to have a faux wood or something like that. I think would be more appropriate for a vehicle trying to give a rich design feel. In terms of the center part, we've got a piano black trim and then some leatherette along the side here to rest your knee against. Let's fire it up with a push button start. And now that it's fired up, let's get into some individual details of the interior. Now, taking a look first of all at our gauge cluster, we've got the 11-inch digital cluster. This is actually standard on every single trim of the Traverse, and you can change the design to various different things just by pressing this button here on the steering wheel. One thing I would have liked to see the High Country add that it does not is a head-up display. You're still going to have to get the Acadia if you want to have that feature. Now, as far as the steering wheel is concerned, pretty much the same as in the rest of the Traverse lineup. Nice thick rim, leather wrapped with the stitching detail. It's actually power tilt and telescoping, which is pretty uncommon for the segment, but is shared with the RS trim, and you have steering wheel heating as well. Now, let's take a look at interior storage. Obviously, it's going to have quite a lot as it is a big SUV. Inside, you'll notice we're loaded down with donuts, and that's because at Car Confections, we put the donuts in the center console to check the volume. And in this case, it fits a lot. 19 donuts, so that's nearly coming up on that 2 dozen mark, and definitely sails past the pass for the donut test. Up in front of that, you've got a little cubby there under that piano trim. You've got your 2 cup holders, wireless phone charging pad up in the front, and then big ol' center pass-through for whatever you want to throw at this vehicle. Shifter, digital, column mounted, so you just pull down for drive. You've got paddle shifters on the steering wheel as well, right here at the top. And when we go into reverse, we'll see our standard 360-degree camera system. Not just standard on the High Country, actually standard on every single version of the Traverse. Nice overhead view. You've got a few different other selections you can pick as well. Press the end for park. You have your electronic parking brake located over here on the left-hand side of the steering wheel. Now, as we move into the center section, we have some physical controls for our climate system. This is a 3-zone automatic climate setup. You can just easily adjust your temperature right here again with the physical knob, although you can also do it inside of the touchscreen if you prefer to operate it like that. Also inside of the touchscreen is our volume knob. So both the RS and the High Country share the high-end Bose sound system, and we'll go ahead and give that a sample right now. Overall sound quality is pretty good. Now we'll zero in next on the infotainment system. So obviously you can see this has a very large display that kind of, I'm not going to say dominates the interior, but really draws your attention in. It is a 17-inch display, and it's running the latest version of General Motors software, which is Android-based. That means that it does have features such as Google Maps and all your Google apps built into the system. So I will go ahead and actually open up the map, show you what that looks like. As you can see, really crisp, high performance from this system. I just love the way this looks. It's very easy to live with, and we certainly have enjoyed living with this system. Another thing I want to point out is that you have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay on board. They both run wirelessly. Up top here, as the High Country trim, you would expect to see the digital camera rear view mirror. You do indeed get that. One thing, though, I expected to see that we don't have is a panoramic sunroof. That's because Chevy makes this an available option really across the trim lineup, so you can even get a top-tier model and choose not to have that sunroof. But if you did want it, it's going to cost you about $1,500 more.
All right, so let's dive into the practicality of this Traverse when it comes to the second and third rows, as well as the cargo area. Now, first of all, as you might have seen, as we came into the rear seat area, the door opens really wide, so that's definitely good for parents. And as far as the space is concerned, we're going to have a lot of space. 41.5 inches of legroom, about 40 inches of headroom. Those are really impressive figures, guys. It's one of the very largest in this entire segment when it comes to second row room. Of course, we brought along the official Car Confections ruler. This seat is adjusted to Drew, who is 5'8". I'm 5'9". And look at that, we're sitting at 10 inches of additional knee room. Really good stuff. Also, my feet can easily slide up underneath of the seat. Speaking of the seat, it does slide forward and back a good distance, as well as have the ability to recline a good distance as well. Now, as far as the captain's chairs are concerned, that's actually standard equipment on every single Traverse. However, you can get bench seating if you need that on the LT. That, of course, will increase your overall seating capacity to 8 passengers instead of the 7 passengers that we have on today's example. Now, as far as other features, we have 2 cup holders right up here. Down below, we have our own climate controls. Heated back seats come on the High Country and RS trim levels. 2 USB-C ports, and even a household outlet, so if you can't keep it charged up, I don't know what to tell you. And we do have a big storage cubby down below. If you look over at the door trim, no rear window sunshades, even for the High Country model. It's going to be a soft touch on the upper part, leatherette through the center section, leatherette on the armrest, and then we also have quite a bit of door storage. It's big enough to fit this big Stanley water bottle in the door, or you can also easily put it right there. And now let's check out the third row of the Traverse. That's one of the highlights of this vehicle, spoiler alert. In order to get back here, you just press this button. That's actually going to kind of lift the seat up and tilt it out of the way. As you can see, the back does not move, so that means that you would not have to remove a child seat. That's also good news for our parents. And then let's go ahead and check out the third row. Now, sitting back here, keep in mind I do have my seat slid all the way back in its tracks, and it's also reclined a decent amount as well. As far as overall legroom, 32 inches of legroom here in the Traverse. That is one of the very best in this mid-size 3-row SUV segment. It's really, really spacious compared to most of the options where it's not nearly as spacious. Now, as you can see, with the seat slid all the way back, I'm not going to have any additional legroom or anything. The thigh support is also pretty good. If this seat was slid forward a little bit more, as you can see, my thighs are quite comfortable, and I do have a nice headrest as well. As far as features, we have cup holders on the side as well as a USB port. Vents come out of the ceiling, and I do want to point out you can fit 3 people back here. As far as how it ranks on our third row rating scale, I'm going to say that this is fit for adults, just with the caveat that you will have to slide the seat forward a little bit more and give yourself a little bit less space here in the second row. Walking up to the tailgate, surprisingly, every Traverse, not just the High Country model, will have a power tailgate with the auto sensibility, so as you approach the vehicle, it'll go ahead and open up. Now, let's talk about how much space you're going to find here in the Traverse. Spoiler alert, this is also going to be a lot. We're sitting at 23 cubic feet behind the third row of seats, 56 cubic feet behind the second row, and as a maximum, we're sitting at around 97 cubic feet. Now, if you're curious as to how that compares to other 3-row midsize SUVs that you could be cross-shopping with, be sure to go to carconfections.com/vehicle rankings. There are a ton of options in this segment, and it's a highly competitive segment, so you'll definitely want to learn about all the different options. And we've actually compiled an entire list on our website and gone through some of the vehicle's strong suits as well as its weaknesses in different categories that might matter more or less to you, such as technology, cargo space, resale, reliability, those types of things. It's all broken down for you. So we would highly recommend going to carconfections.com/vehicle rankings to check that out. Now, as far as the other features that you'll find back here, over here on the side, we do have a power folding third row. That's something that some of the options in the segment do not include. So as you can see, you can easily fold those seats down. And when you do, you get that full 97 cubic feet of space. And now that we've got all of our seats folded down, they do fold completely flat with the floor, and I really like that you can fold the second row of seats with a button in the cargo area rather than having to go up there and do it manually. Now, as far as our cargo length, width, and height figures, that's something we get in all of our Car Confections reviews as well. Cargo length behind Drew's 5'8" driving position is 89 inches. From behind the second row of seats, 52 inches. Behind the third row of seats, 22 inches of length. Overall width is really good, 50 inches wide. So if you're looking to haul something wide, that certainly will come in handy. 32 inches of cargo height as well. That is really, really good. And let's also do the cargo load-in height. You're going to be sitting at right around 31 inches of cargo load-in height. And it's not all. We have extra space up underneath of the cargo floor. As you can see, that's definitely another couple cubic feet that you have as hidden storage. Additionally, there is a spare tire included down below there. Well, guys, here we are behind the wheel of the Chevy Traverse High Country. In this test drive, we're going to be discussing quite a few different things. We'll also be getting things like our sound level reading. But first, we need to go ahead and start by giving you a hard acceleration.
All right, that was a little above 60 miles per hour. With the High Country version of the Traverse. Now, in terms of the overall acceleration, pretty good. This is a fairly quick offering for the segment because we have pretty good power figures. We actually have 328 horsepower and 326 pound-feet of torque. Again, both of those are quite strong for the segment, especially as a standard engine option across the entire lineup. Of course, this is a 2.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, kind of the big difference from the previous generation, which was giving you a V6 engine.
Yeah, and the power figures are definitely up from that V6 before. However, the one thing you will notice is definitely it makes a lot of noise as you accelerate. That's one of the very first things that we noticed when we got behind the wheel of this Traverse, is that it does make a little bit of a thrashy and kind of loud noise when you are under hard acceleration. So just keep that in mind. But overall, the power itself feels really, really good. That acceleration there showed you that, and it does definitely push you back back in your seat quite a bit, all that torque that they have on board, even despite this being a very large SUV.
Yeah, plenty of power. Again, I think kind of just to the thing we've previously said in our other Traverse reviews, it definitely is still true with the High Country. Despite the sound, it's not actually straining. It's just that it is loud when you're accelerating.
I wish they'd do some like noise amplification or some type of different noise.
Not amplify that, cover it up with something.
Yeah, through the speakers, a different type of noise than that.
Yeah, or add some additional sound deadening. Something I'm sure could be done, and maybe they will do it in the future, but they haven't yet done it for the 2025 High Country. Now, in terms of the other elements of the powertrain to mention, we've got an 8-speed automatic transmission. Nothing too noteworthy about this transmission. It's largely, pretty smooth and responsive when you punch it down. Of course, you also have standard front-wheel drive and available all-wheel drive.
All right, so let's get into our ride quality discussion with this Traverse. Now, like we've said, we did have this vehicle for a full week, and we actually had a Traverse not too long ago, just a couple months ago, we had one as well for a full week. That one was the RS trim level, and overall, we were very impressed with the ride quality on both examples. They have the large 22-inch alloy wheels on the outside, and even despite that, they do still ride very smoothly. I think the vast majority of families will be perfectly happy with the ride quality. The only thing I will point out is that if you hit a larger bump in the road, such as this bridge abutment that we're about to go over, it does let in a little bit more intrusion than some of the rivals would, but overall, very, very good ride quality. And the High Country is very similar to other versions of the Traverse, maybe just a few percent softer sprung than the RS trim level, but it's going to ride very similar to other Traverses, if you ask me.
Want to show off a sport mode acceleration there. Obviously, this vehicle is not particularly sporty, so you wouldn't expect to see much of a difference, and you don't. And we'll take it back to the normal mode here so we can get prepared for our sound level reading.
We have it on fan speed 1, and the rear climate is powered off. So once we hit 55, I will go ahead and start our sound level reading. 57.4 decibels is what we have settled in at, going 55 miles per hour in the High Country Traverse. We don't sit here and guess how it compares to other Traverses we've tested out, or a lot of the competition as well. At carconfections.com/sound level readings, we've posted them all. And as far as how that places it, that is going to place it right around the middle of the segment, sound level reading wise. It's not the quietest, not the loudest option either. It's a little bit louder than the Traverse RS that we tested out earlier this year on this exact same strip of road. And let's discuss fuel economy for the Traverse. So we do just have the one engine option, no hybrid configuration or anything. So 23 is for a front wheel drive, 21 MPG if you choose all wheel drive. And as far as our real world fuel economy, we have not quite been getting that EPA estimate. The Traverse RS that we tested out, we drove actually quite a lot of miles. This one, we're also seeing the same exact trend go on. We're sitting at 18.8 miles per gallon as our fuel economy in the real world. So just know you're not going to get super great fuel economy, even though this is a 4-cylinder. It is a little bit on the thirstier side, that's for sure. All right, and let's get into our Car Confections Slam Dunk and Airball. Drew, why don't you go ahead and kick us off with the Slam Dunk?
Since we already reviewed the other versions, we're going to try to make this specific to the High Country, and we'd say the biggest reason probably to choose this High Country is because you like the way it looks. Of course, it adds some additional elements. Specifically, the wheels, I think, really look nice with this overall design.
Yeah. Now on the Airball side, I think everyone that, is probably watching this video feels the same way. the High Country is just leaves a little bit to be desired. This is a trim level that essentially is just almost a different design on the RS, and they didn't add any extra luxury features really. I wish they had added the head-up display. The brown interior particularly, I'm very disappointed it doesn't even at least have a brown interior, so you can kind of call this maybe a mid-country. It's not quite a High Country if you ask me. They kind of just are offering this as, alongside the RS as one of the other high trims that you can get, but it's not the fully loaded example that you're used to in the Chevy lineup. And for those reasons, we are going to say that we like this Traverse High Country specifically a little bit less after living with it this week. You expect as you walk up to a High Country Chevy that it's going to be the fully loaded model that has some special touches. And this High Country really just doesn't move the needle much when it comes to those special things. I'm happy that they are offering it because it has a different design on the outside, but overall I wish they had done a little bit more with this model. And let's discuss pricing for the Traverse. Now, we start at $40,000 for the base LT model. Now, as you move up the trim structure, the High Country, of course, is going to be one of your more expensive options, $53,800 with front-wheel drive. The RS does actually cost $300 more at $54,100, so that's kind of what Drew was talking about earlier. If you want one as tested today, you can see the price on the screen right now, but no, if you check all of the options, you will be sitting right around that $60,000 price point. Now, if you're looking to buy a Chevy Traverse or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. The reason you do that is because we have a tool on our website that will connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is very helpful when it comes to dealer negotiation and can help the dealers to start competing on price. We even have a monthly payment tool if you'd like to check that out. So be sure to do yourself a favor and go in the video description, follow that link, or you can find a pinned comment at the top of this video. But buying a vehicle is about more than just the original MSRP, so let's dive into resale and reliability. First up, let's talk about resale value. As an economics graduate myself, Drew and I took the time to develop what we think is a good estimate for this Chevy Traverse's potential resale value. We estimate that after 5 years and 60,000 miles, it'll be worth 54.7% of original MSRP, and after 10 years and 120,000 miles, 20.4%. Now, it's worth noting that is actually a pretty good resale value percentage that's above industry average. However, it's not quite as good as some of the Japanese automakers such as Honda, Toyota, Subaru, or Mazda.
Now, we've also done the same for reliability by developing the Combined Reliability Index. This takes into account several studies on reliability from trustworthy sources and combines them in a way that gives you a more holistic picture. We've also just updated this with the most recent 2025 data, and in this regard, Chevy ranks well above the overall industry average for all vehicle brands.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about our resale values, reliability data, or our methodology, be sure to go to carconfections.com/resale and carconfections.com/reliability. Buying a new vehicle is a very big decision, so you want to make sure you're making a smart purchase, especially if you're cross-shopping between different vehicle brands. Now, when it comes to your warranty, Chevy includes a 3-year 36,000-mile basic warranty, a 5-year 60,000-mile powertrain warranty. You do also get your first maintenance visit covered complimentary. And guys, that's going to wrap up our 7-day review of this new 2025 Chevy Traverse High Country. If you enjoyed watching this video, specifically where we detail all the things that the High Country adds, we'd really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you're going to be a part of our Car Confections family. We have a lot of fun on this channel, and I promise you won't want to miss out. If you're already a part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.